Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dig through corporate filings. So you don't have to. Today we're diving into Moleculin Biotech's proxy statement. It's a long document with a lot of proposals. Trust me, this one's going to be fun. And for those of you who like getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed and join our Discord community that's linked in the description below for more discussions. This filing is all about what Moleculin wants its shareholders to vote on at their upcoming meeting. It's not just about electing directors, they're also asking for permission to issue a whole lot more stock warrants, change some of the company's rules, and even do a reverse stock split. This could mean big changes for the company and your investment, so let's get right into it. First off, it's important to know that Moleculin Biotech is holding its annual meeting on August 18, 2025. They're using the SEC's notice and access model, meaning they're sending out a notice on how to access the proxy materials online, which is pretty standard these days. What are they actually voting on? Well, there are several key proposals here. First, they need to elect 6 board members. Second, shareholders will vote to ratify their choice of Grant Thornton as their accounting firm. It goes on for a total of 9 proposals. We'll break down things as we go. There are some changes to company voting rules being decided. One proposal is to get rid of what's called supermajority voting requirements to change their company rules in the future. Right now, it takes a 2/3 vote to change many things in their company charter. They want to change it to just a normal majority. Why the change? Basically, Moleculin's board thinks it's a good idea to have this voting requirement more flexible. If they get rid of that high bar of 2/3, changes to these important rules are not as difficult to put in place. Now, this proposal is definitely one of the big ones. They want to increase the total number of shares they can issue. In other words, they want to be able to sell a lot more stock in the future. Currently, their charter allows them to issue 100 million shares, but they want to bump that up all the way to 500 million. Why make so many more shares available? But there's more happening here than just increasing authorized shares. They are asking for the power to do a reverse stock split. If approved, then they can reduce the number of outstanding shares, with every investor owning a fraction of what they used to own. For example, an investor who owns 30 shares would end with 1 share if they did a 1-for-30 stock split. Why would they do this? The main reason companies do reverse stock splits is to boost their share price. If a company's stock price is too low, it can get delisted from exchanges like Nasdaq, which is the case with Moleculin. This is a big one. Moleculin needs to issue a substantial number of shares related to warrants they previously issued. These warrants issued have an effect of technically issuing shares at a discount, so they need agreement. Win more. Essentially, they issued warrants that allow investors to buy shares at a set price in the future. They need permission to issue yet another 140,000, 740,000, 740,000 shares upon the exercise of warrants, this time from a big public offering completed this year. They agreed to let the investors vote to exercise the warrants. Of course, it's important to know who's at the top. Walter Klemp is the chairman, president, and CEO. Jonathan Foster is the CFO and executive vice president, and Donald Picker is the chief scientific officer. Looking at it all, this isn't a small operation with outside influence. It's also important to look at who's on the company board and how independent these people are from the senior ranks of the company. Robert George is one. He was in accounting. Michael Cannon, who is on a science advisory board for a healthcare investment fund. John Climaco, who is even the CEO of CNS Pharmaceuticals, is also on the board. And of course, there is Elizabeth Cermak, who has a lot of healthcare board positions. Let's take a quick look at the money being paid to the executive team. In 2024, Walter Klemp total compensation was about $1.4 million. Jonathan Foster was a little under $1 million at around $900K, and Donald Picker took around $600 and ended this stage. But what has been happening with stock performance? Looking at the relationship between compensation and performance, the company has lost in-market performance since 2021. For simplicity, $100 invested had a great year in 2021, but it's all lost in 2024. They lost value year over year. The executives had pay roughly similar comms. So what's the overall picture here with Moleculin Biotech? Has the team steered the ship properly or not? It's tough to say. The series of stock issuance and warrants are raising some large amounts of needed funding, but really hurts investors in the business. Dilution is the real enemy of returns. The leadership itself is experienced. I would say that while the path to success is narrow for a biotech company. Their leadership is guiding the company as fairly as possible. Alright, that's our breakdown of Moleculin Biotech's latest filling. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Also, if you found this analysis valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.